Recording is on.
Hello and welcome to the DXDAO BizDev call for Monday, 2nd of August 2021. Today on the agenda, I don't think we have any new member introductions, but we will be discussing a couple of opportunities. There's the house token farming and like LPDAO going live, generally like a collaboration with House, with DAO House. Prime DAO, there's a couple of opportunities there to discuss. Lido for ETH2 staking, Good Dollar collaboration, Polygon strategy for the DXDAO. Oh, wait. Can you hear me? Sorry, someone called me. Chainlink discussion, devolution, architecture sessions, the ETH Global Hackathon preparation, which will be in a month from now, but we'll need to start talking about this. Following up on the bounty or task board and YAM collaboration. Yeah, do you want to start with the house token farming?
Hey, sorry, Nylan. We actually do have one new member introduction today, so if I can just have 1 minute. And can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So we do have one new member introduction, and I just want to preface the introduction with a reminder that the contributor UX and I have been working with Position, a recruiting forum to find our next marketing lead. Just over the past few months, we've been interviewing and having conversations with numerous candidates who we feel could fulfill this role. So this new member introduction today is for a candidate that Tammy, Chris, John, and myself have all been in communication with, and we'd like to formally introduce her to the rest of the community. Her name is Nisa, and Nisa, if you just wanted to jump on and tell us a few things about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Hi, my name is Nissa Zabo. I've been working in DeFi, I guess, even before it was called DeFi, so since 2017. And my background's in government affairs and public policy. And then when I came to DeFi, I started working more in marketing and strategic communications. Noticed that there was, a big gap of, what we were building or what was being built and how to communicate that and how to bring more people into the community and things like that. So I've worked within the consensus mesh. I worked for a decentralized exchange called AirSwap, which you guys may be familiar with, as well as a number of infrastructure projects. So looking at opportunities to increase scalability for blockchain and just how do we make this a long-term viable technology. So those are the things I'm passionate about. Yeah, I'm really excited about what DAOs can do. I think even just over the weekend, we saw some interest. I don't know if you guys saw some interesting news of regulations in the United States. It's just a bill that's being put up. It still has a lot to get through and be passed, but there's a lot of concerns, and I think DAOs have an amazing opportunity to shine during this time. So yeah, really excited to be meeting you all and to come more into the fold of the DXDAO community. And yeah, last thing, I'm currently based in Brooklyn, New York. So I look forward to speaking with you all more.
Welcome.
Awesome.
And
if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
are you related to Nick Szabo?
I'm not, no, but it is my favorite question to answer.
Yeah.
I do imagine our families have kind of similar histories of, leaving Hungary and coming to the US and things like that. So similarities there, but not closely related.
One way to answer that question is always just to say no comment and let people's minds wander.
I did that for a really long time. And then, yeah, more recently, I've just gone for the straightforward, especially in this sort of setting.
Cool.
Also, well, welcome to the DXDAO. Do we have anyone else?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, welcome, and feel free to, like, I don't know if you're already on the Keybase, but that's where most of the communication is done. We also have a Discord, and yeah, feel free to initiate things. This is kind of like what drives DAOs.
Absolutely, I will. Thank you.
So yeah, I think maybe the first thing we're going to be talking about is the house farming, token farming. Yeah, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so we have a whole bunch of topics, there's quite a few interesting topics on here today. These are things that we've been discussing in our like DXbiz meetups and things, but we kind of want to get some more, I guess, clarity from like contributors in the community around some of these, so we can start to move forward on some of them, I guess. And so this first one is this house token potential like next rewards pool. For the background, I think people are aware there was a showcase farm in the past. It attracted some liquidity from that community for LP token of house and WETH. There is this new interesting LP DAO, which is a really unique idea behind a community of a certain token forming a DAO in order to better control, grow, and focus on the liquidity of their actual token. So I think this is actually going to be quite a popular thing going forward. This is really the first scenario where we've seen a DAO form specific for this reason. This DAO has incentives to enter this DAO with LP tokens or like WETH that then becomes LP tokens. And this DAO then basically has a coordination mechanism to use these LP token, this LP asset, like how the DAO chooses to do it. And so ideally, if there is a farm for that pair or for that token, basically, the DAO can actually go and farm that reward. So the cool thing is initially this DAO is being formed with Swapper LP tokens. There is house rewards that are going to this DAO. If Swapper has a farm, a rewards pool for this pair, there will be very good incentive for the DAO to actually keep the liquidity on Swapper and grow the liquidity actually, and bring more liquidity to Swapper and farm the rewards, right? And so at the same time, if there were other rewards pools out there in the market it could be cross-chain or it could be other dexes, on any of the chains, if theoretically that DAO could move the full liquidity to wherever the best rewards are, right? And so the cool thing is Swapper's already tied to it. Swapper's been communicated in the public announcement. Swapper is where the focus is right now. Ideally, we are able to kickstart another rewards pool in some manner. It doesn't have to be a giant rewards pool. It just has to be some rewards pool that is basically like the best rewards pool out there in order to keep the focus of this DAO concentrating on that pool, on that DEX, right? And so at the same time, there's also like, I think HoneySwap and maybe SushiSwap and some other exchanges out there, like there's potential for rewards pools on those for this token as well. So it's not like Swapper is not the only game in town. So to move forward with this would be an important thing, I think.
Yep, and based on what we talked about on the product strategy call, it seems like we had a consensus that a 50-50, basically a farming match program, where if a project is providing a certain amount in their token of liquidity incentives or pools on Swapper, then it makes sense when Swapper token is launched, and in the meantime, using DXC token to provide an equal amount of tokens. So in this case, House is providing $25,000 worth of their tokens plus a little bit extra incentive for people who deposit Ethereum into the pool, because there's a whole bunch of complicated stuff going on with the pool. It's 3 months vesting in this pool, which is also a DAO, as Guy mentioned. But I think it would be good to do $25,000 to match the amount they have in house in DXD for rewards for this pool. And also, if anyone wants to get added to the team about it, we have a meeting with them this Wednesday. So just let me know on Aladi.team.
So the one, just to clarify on that point, Ken, that it's a little, it's a bit of a different scenario than if, for example, like with the XDAI team, if we had Swapper token and we wanted to rewards like a stake WETH pool with alongside them, if we were going to put both like two-sided rewards together, ideally in a trustless way, which we've also been talking about, like maybe building that with YAM or Prime DAO or something like the tool in order to like co-provide liquidity. In this scenario, the actual DAO that's organizing capital around its token, those house rewards aren't actually going into Swapper. So it's a unique scenario where we would be providing a rewards pool, but it's not in tandem with a third, like the other party's token going into the same rewards farm.
Right, so that might be a reason to do a little bit less than the normal 50% rewards. And I think the rewards should just be done the same way, you know, reward farming is normally done. Instead of giving it directly to the DAO, just doing it for Swapper liquidity. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, our rewards pool would be on Swapper.
Why should we reward them?
Well, so they're paying a lot of money in their token rewards for Swapper liquidity providers, and I mean, like Sky said, there's lots of other platforms they could be using. So this is kind of preempting them moving to another platform and making sure they stick with Swapper. And I think it's really valuable to have the number one pair, or the number one most liquid market be Swapper for any token. So if we can make the number one most liquid market be a token, and then I think it's worth it.
Yeah, but so we have, or DXDAO has distributed $25,000 worth of rewards already to the house WETH pair. I think that's over the last like 6 weeks, and that was part of the initial campaign. So I think it would be great if house also distributed some of their own rewards on Swapper too, given that DXDAO already has. I'd be in favor of thinking of, you know, I think the goal here, of course, is to like showcase Swapper as a farming platform, and then like engage to DAO interactions, and maybe we can do that with other communities. So I think House is a great community, and it makes sense to try to continue to figure out something maybe at a smaller targeted liquidity pool than the previous round.
Also, like, they're mainly living on XDAI, right? So there's HoneySwap and Swapper. And HoneySwap has like 0.3% pool fee, and I think we changed that to 0.5, right? So I think that's a stickiness, probably.
That's SushiSwap too.
There's SushiSwap too. But they're also like 0.3%. I think that's something we did for them, right? Change the pool fee.
Yeah, well, our pool is house WETH, and the other, like the HoneySwap pool, is house WXDAI as well. So that's like, if people are more attracted to this pool. But yes, this is not a necessary thing. I think like DXD pools should also have rewards in the meantime until we have Swapper token. But this is just a way to continue to be attached to an interesting DAO-related LP experiment in the space. It would be a shame if this thing launched and quickly went to took all the liquidity out of Swapper and went to another exchange. But it could happen, and it is possible. So it's not this is the issue with like reward programs in general. Like we don't have many rewards programs right now. It's hard without Swapper token. This is real money. We did a big DXD and house rewards program for the last 2 months, and like it got us some attention and some new people paying attention to Swapper. But like, was it worth $300,000? Who knows? Probably not, right? I don't know. So this is like a question of in general.
Yeah, I mean, there seems like there's good reasons here, but my impression was the first campaign, the hope was that there would be some reciprocation from House in the future, right? And this is this kind of what we had been hoping for, or is there, or?
This is a very new thing that's like novel in the space. And so it adjusts what like an initial idea was, because the initial idea is kind of less interesting, but yes, theoretically they could put house reward into the Swapper farm as well. We can ask them for that. That doesn't change it like too much, but it changes it some. Yeah, makes it better a little bit.
What about specifying some goals, I guess, or like things we want to achieve from this collaboration? And then like, I don't know, like measuring whether we actually reach those goals.
I think we went off a tangent a bit. As Caden pointed, we have a meeting with them this week, so that will be the whole point of the conversation, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so now you're in that Keybase. If anyone else wants to be added to that Keybase, just let me know.
Yeah, no, Elon's points are very good though. Like, and we haven't we have this channel, but we haven't figured out what the goals are. So like hearing what people think the goals of something like this should be is a great time to discuss it right now.
I mean, this one goal maybe we can't measure 100%, but it would be bad losing a DAO to DAO partnership either way. Like, right? So we like SushiSwap winning this kind of thing would, I don't know, be a bad thing. We can measure it by having the partnership or not. But is it worth it in money? I don't know. Like, do we want to be?
But what does a partnership mean, though?
What is House? Like, what are they doing?
They're a platform for creating DAOs. So they have a bunch of DAOs on them.
They're like the Moloch DAO launcher, basically.
But
what does this LP DAO do outside of its? Like, what is there like maybe I'm missing something. Like, what? How does this LP DAO work? Like, it gives rewards for people locking some kind of LP into the LP DAO, right? And it gives house rewards.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's a DAO that is created to make organized decisions around a token related to capital, like related to liquidity around that token, right? And so it's like an expanded version of what Swapper LP governance is supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to allow LP token holders on Swapper. The goal from the start was to allow LP token holders to like govern the fee on Swapper. And like, that's all they were gonna do. Very simple, kind of interesting. It still doesn't exist and not sure when it's gonna exist. This is basically like a better expanded, if you are in a token community, this is a DAO that can not only like do stuff like changing, like asking to change swap fees, but it can actually organize movement of LPing capital around its token, basically. So it's like, I think it's like kind of the future of a type of DAO for a community token, and in a way to organize what is the plan and how to position liquidity around a token in optimal ways and be able to
So
negotiate.
any token project could set up one of these DAOs, like an existing token project,
Exactly.
and then issue token rewards to this DAO to move liquidity to the place that maybe the token holders think it should be.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I mean,
And
it
it's
makes a ton of
mainly
sense, right? It makes a ton of sense. Like, guys, we're in a so work token's going to try to figure out the same thing. Like, a lot of tokens have this problem. There's a token, and they're like, everyone's got this token, and they're like, how do we like get a big little pool so that like our token can be traded? And right now, you know what happens? Like, not that much. Most communities like sit there and like wait for the project to like incentivize and choose Uniswap, and then incentivize a pool or something, right? And then like create a farm for it. This is a way for like actual community token holders to get together and form a DAO around how to approach this topic.
And who has the voting power in this DAO? It's the LP holders.
The members of the DAO, and the members of the DAO, you become a member by basically giving LP token.
The governance is really weird though, because it's not directly weighted by LP tokens. There's a cap on the amount of governance you can have for each person, and you have to prove your identity to have governance. But you don't have to prove your identity to get the rewards though, so it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, if people should read the article that explains how it works, if people aren't clear with how it works. Yeah.
I guess I'm having trouble just like concisely explaining what problem it solves, right? Because if I was a project and I wanted to incentivize liquidity, I could just use swapper farming, right?
I think it's
Your
less
house.
from like, it's like a supply side versus demand side. And I actually think Caden's description of this as like a union is a pretty good analogy. Because like, if instead of a project launching a farming program to incentivize like liquidity providers, it would be the other side. It's liquidity providers like binding together to then try to like get people to launch campaigns for them. So it's kind of coming.
But
from
who's funding the rewards though? It's not the LP.
You're trying to negotiate with the project.
Exactly.
Basically.
It's basically
You're like, send rewards here.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you're like, hey, we've got $1 million. We've got all the DXD WEF.
Gotcha.
Like, who wants this liquidity?
This DAO also has to make a proposal to like the project whose token it is too. So to like seek rewards from the project as well, like from the treasury of the token holders, right?
I gotcha. Okay, cool.
And I actually think that could rise in importance, especially as like we try to think about what is the liquidity mining in like the Uniswap v3 world, because I'm not sure if the simple mass retail farming campaigns will go the Uniswap v3 route, just because it is still like pretty confusing to like provide liquidity. So you may see projects still go for this very simple 50-50 liquidity provide, or I guess communities like liquidity providers go for that. But that's not a great, very capital efficient structure, so that they would probably need to have incentives to convince liquidity providers to deposit at the 50-50 ratio. But I think that's the simplest way to reach the mass retail liquidity provider market.
Yeah, I think one downside is that you're not able to ape anymore, right? You're kind of bind it to your union, and it's probably not as fast as like removing liquidity and depositing somewhere else.
Yeah, well, they only have liquidity points every 3 months. So in that 3 months, you're basically stuck, and no one else can even join.
Wait, why can't no one join after 3 months?
So there's a 1 week period at the start where anybody can join. It's starting, actually, I think it's starting today, and then it's ending in like a week from now, where anyone can join. But then after that, it's closed, so no one else can join. for 3 months.
And what's the idea for the incentive DXDAO should provide?
So, well, in this situation, it's a lot more complicated. I like Nathan's idea of asking them to make the liquidity in Swapper, because that way we'd be able to basically just have like the same standard for everyone, and then we'd be able to do the 50-50. And then Chris, you were saying that's not the most capital efficient way, but I mean, I think it's good that it's like everybody gets the same deal, because it would make a negotiation a lot easier, because everybody would know, okay, Swapper will match 50-50 with us, the liquidity incentives we have. But if do you have other ideas of like a more capital efficient way?
Well, I'm just trying to understand like what the so this DAO, this LP DAO, is going to decide where to put all of its LP tokens, or they like when is this decision point? Like like this kind of goes back to Nylon's question, right? Like what's our goals here? Like what are we trying to get them to do, and when?
Also interesting, like besides like just giving house token holders DXD rewards, why not make like an experiment with DXD holders by letting them like creating a house DAO and let them like create a union, and we would give like DXD rewards to our DXD holders. Why is that not better? Because we actually like experimenting.
The first time in history an organization has paid people to form a union.
Yes, paid capital providers, capital to form a union.
Right. And also like it's on-chain voting, right? It's better than sanction.
So Geronimo, that's a really good point. There is potential for DXD community to do this. There's potential for every token community to do this. The reason why this one is house is because this is the first one. This is the first experiment. Like they're not even doing it with like giant amounts at first, but this is the first time this kind of LP DAO has formed. And so if our goal is to keep it attached to Swapper, have it successful, have lots of token communities do similar, including DXD community, and then expand it and ideally keep it flowing to Swapper around different token communities. But you got to start with the experiment first.
But isn't the whole point of these things going to be to like pit different AMMs against each other to like have bargaining power?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like this idea of being part, like on the bleeding edge of it and like participating and growing the community, but I'm struggling a little bit to see like the strategic value for Swapper here.
I mean, this is already happening with didn't basically SushiSwap say, hey, we'll match XDAI rewards, and I mean, they're doing this, but without the DAO part, right? So they're matching already for partnerships, or at least SushiSwap is doing it. And they have a program for it. This is like, I would say this is more like a structured way to do it and give LP holders more power. So yeah, I mean, this was already a way to get liquidity to AMMs. This battle was already ongoing. This is basically what farming is. But yeah, maybe it's not like outspoken. Not every project knows about this.
Yeah, I suggest maybe like before the call with them, we can have, I don't know, maybe even like a 10-15 minute I don't know, kind of like recap and figure out like what are the goals and what do we want to present them. Because obviously there's like a lot of things we can do, but we need to figure out what we want to do. Or
what is their parameters? Like what's their decision point here? Like they have to pick an AMM that they're going to run this with for the first 3 months or for a period of time?
Well, yeah, I guess these are questions that we need to answer.
Because we had the last pool, it's already initiating with Swapper token, with Swapper LP token. So that decision was already made, and we were fortunate to be part of that. And partly it was because of the last rewards pool that we did, right? And so
is it, yeah. Well, could you expand on, like, when you say initiating with the swapper, does that mean there's going to be like other ones as well, or is it completely open? Like,
No, you
exactly?
actually joined the pool today with swapper LP tokens.
And that's the only
You
option.
can't join with other LP tokens.
Okay,
Exactly.
cool.
Well,
Yeah.
you
I
can, you
mean,
can
this is
also
this
go
is
with
great.
What's great?
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying you can also join with Ethereum, and then they'll add your liquidity to the pool. Go ahead.
I mean, if we're sort of getting this like unspoken exclusivity for Swapper, like this is really, really good. I think this could be like a very good like growth strategy for Swapper. Even as
yeah,
an
like I mentioned
experiment.
earlier, like the part of the hope with this rewards was some reciprocation. So like, I mean, that's like a good, that's nice, right?
Yeah, and then if we can even have like a volume target for Swapper from this collaboration, like I think that's good enough essentially. Like to decide, okay, we're gonna allocate, I don't know, 100K for this in order to get to some metric of volume on Swapper. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I guess we can continue this in the group, and if anyone wants an invite, I think Caden is organizing that.
Yep, just let me know, and I'll add you to the collaboration group.
All right, great. I think maybe the next. So we have. Don't know, like if these are going to go on. I don't know how much time we'll have for each thing. I would say that I think we should talk about the ETH Global Hackathon and the Prime DAO, kind of like next steps. Maybe we can start with the Prime DAO one.
Yeah. So So we've like raised this opportunity with Prime DAO in the chats a bit. We plan to have Luke from Prime DAO come have like an AMA between the two communities and actually a presentation related to this opportunity and DAO to DAO relations in general on Thursday following the main DXDAO call. But I think there's some interest to like start the discussion in the forum potentially prior to that. So maybe he can get a post up in there so we could start the discussion. There's already some strong opinions in general on Prime DAO, but
so what is the could we concisely recap like what the opportunity is here, or is that not clear at this point?
They're doing a seed round, and they're close to closing it, and some investment from DXDAO/DX Ventures into this round to basically get some stake in Prime DAO in order to start to align interests better and basically allow collaboration around products and things that we can work on together. And there's quite a few things that they are working on that could tie in with the platforms and products that we have. And so it's an investment opportunity. It's a alignment of interests of two DAOs, and then it hopes to spur better coordination between the two and practice better DAO to DAO relations while trying to accomplish goals that both parties have. So like they also use DAOstack, for example, and they also need a better governance system, and they are working on some of their own governance systems like Prime Pools, which are like governing using LP tokens between co-shared liquidity and things. And so there's a handful of like interrelated projects that we are working on and Prime DAO is working on that it makes sense to definitely collaborate with them in some way. You don't need to do an investment in order to do that. You could find other ways to collaborate and other ways to align incentives, but it's obviously better, and it's easier if you have like ownership in each other's systems, I guess. So you could do it by a token swap like DXD and Prime, I guess, or you could do an investment of 50 or 100K into this Prime seed round that's currently happening. So it's an opportunity to get in from the start, basically, at a
well,
set.
It's worth noting that they already did a sale, right? So I don't know if we could really call this the start, but
yeah, and the people that hold like the original Prime token are apparently getting equivalent or slightly more than their, like, if you call it Prime 1, if this is Prime 2, like the Prime token holders of the first token are basically automatically participating as well. If I believe that's if you hold the Prime token today, not if you participated in the other sale, in the first sale.
Yeah, what is the reason for redeploying a token? Why do they redeploy? They have a token which they couldn't sell. Why are they not using the same token they tried to sell 3 months ago?
Otherwise, you can't lock up the old cells on like 2-3 years vesting, right? They're unlocked.
I think they've changed like quite a bit of their roadmap and their products and things like that. It was originally the initial token was like framed on, and then it's also I think like locking up a new token that allows better alignment longer term. But Luke would probably be the best person to answer these questions, but we could start answering if he does a forum post about it. We could start asking these questions in the forum prior to Thursday's call too.
Yeah, I think we need to have Luke on one of these calls, like explaining, kind of like answering some of these questions and essentially pitching PrimeDAO. And in general, I think we have a lot in common, like Sky said, between the products that we're trying to do and the challenges that we're facing, especially since we're both using like DAO stack governance. And then I think out of the entire world or the ecosystem of DAOs that today is in Ethereum, these are the guys who are most similarly aligned with DXDAO. Yes, they're not as big on decentralization as we are, but they're definitely, I don't know, sort of influential in the space, and they do stuff. I mean, one of the things is that it's like this DAOist conference, right? It's mainly them, or I guess mainly Felipe. And yeah, I mean, a partnership with them like could go a long way. And my take of this is more like from the like personal perspective.
So I'm very interested in like building these kinds of collaborations, and I think we definitely should explore it. I would hope that we could lead with what are the actual collaborations rather than putting money. Like if they're just coming out and asking money first after we've had ample opportunity in the past to work together, I'd be a little wary of that. So I'd be curious like what the actual points and plans and who we would be collaborating with. Like for instance, if we could help them with the Daoist or something like that, that could be interesting.
Yeah, and also, and I guess like Nylon already said, I think they actually building products which are competitors to us. So I think, and I totally agree with John. Like, if we see opportunities where we can just like request, like, okay, this is like a partnership or a collaboration where we would benefit a lot. I think we should like actually propose it and be proactive about like, okay, let's do it together. We have something very clear, and what do you guys think about that? I think that is like a way better approach and like actually really trying to get a real partnership done. And I think the aim, the Thursday call is a perfect opportunity for us to actually like get to know what they are and what they're doing and who is actually doing it. I think the team kind of changed. Like the main driver, like Pat, is actually not working on it. I know Philippe is actually doing podcasts. So like who's actually building stuff?
Yeah, so I guess like he'll be able to answer these questions, and I think just like we just talked about the house collaboration, and we should have some targets and goals that we want to achieve. Same here, like we want to invest money. Maybe okay, we're looking for a return, but if this is more strategic, like what are these strategic goals? Like, do we want to collaborate with them on a couple of products? Do we want to like outline these outright before we even invest? And yeah, like we can follow up on these goals in 6 months and see if they've actually been achieved.
Yeah, just
Wait, is the primary? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just in general, my feeling is DAO to DAO relations is very important, and DXDAO in general seems to be very, very, very closed compared to most DAOs. Like we've seen like things fall apart with Gnosis. We've seen fall apart with other entities as well, and like to have a culture of working with other projects and involving like doing things together. We have tokens, which is like a great way to align interests. I just think we need to start being more, and even DAO House, for example, like we're always like very closed from outsiders versus we should just be more open, and maybe it's a little bit of a risk, but it's better. I think it's better in this space to be open and collaborative than closed and not.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with like being closed. I think we're just conservative, giving out, like we have actually respect regarding our token, and like the token price is important, and we're just like not accepting any deal. Like everyone is just printing money. It's pretty easy to do partnership with like continuously printing money, printing shitcoins, right? Like we are not in the position to do that. Like we have a fixed amount of DXT tokens.
And I would say we put more effort into trying to form collaborations with both Gnosis and Prime DAO in the past than vice versa.
But
like
also
like
Sky, like I 100% agree with like, based on my experience with like being a DAO and talking to a company, I would say like that's actually most of the time will fail, and we see that with Sushi too. Like even if we gets such a big backlash, I think like the only way for us to like really do partnerships is DAO to DAO, and I think we should like really explore it and actually like be very proactive. And if there's a potential real DAO coming up, we should actually like really try to work with them.
Yeah, so I think the sentiment from like Sky and I talked to Luke at ETHCC, and he's been thinking of specific points where we could work on. Like we understand they work with Balancer, and they're doing like the front end for their like Balancer pool IDO platform. But you know, we're in DeFi, and there's a lot of similar DeFi products. So like you guys said, if there's a good point of reference that we can work with one another on, let's approach it from that attitude, and then we can kind of like see where it lands. I understand like why would we give 50K for something when there's no reciprocation. To me, if we're doing that as a sign of just like good, some sort of like just good, you know, a good gesture, it would be better to do a token swap of some kind. And that could be discussed as well if that is of interest to anyone. Obviously, it depends on like the terms of the token and stuff like that. But we should just hear him out and see what specific plans he was thinking would be good points for us to collaborate on.
So is the framing of this collaborations, or is the framing like a pitch for DX Ventures?
I would say both, but we specifically basically kind of said what you guys said, which is we think that we need specific points to collaborate on, and we would prefer some sort of token swap versus just like an investment. I don't really think that didn't really make sense so much to us, and I think it sounds like
wouldn't that be the same thing sort of though? Because when you invest, aren't you getting their token in return?
Yeah, it is the same thing, but I think for some reason the tenor is different, it seems, because it's more like a partnership with plans to collaborate on certain things versus just giving them money for tokens. And also, if you don't want to give DXD away, would we prefer to do? I mean, it's just like a question of like, okay, we have a lot of ETH in our treasury, so that's like giving away funds, but like a token that they're holding on to that's locked or something like that would mean that they have some sort of interest like we would have if we're holding their token in the success of the project, right? So what makes more sense?
Yeah, it would be great to put a priority in like talking about collaboration, like real well-defined collaboration points first, and then potentially talk about like investment or like token swap, whatever. I think yeah, we would benefit way more in like actually working together as two DAOs on things together, which benefits us both.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me too.
All right, so I guess that's kind of maybe for Thursday we'll be in touch with Luke and see how to move this forward. But yeah, I guess the goal here is still collaboration. Anything else, or can we move on to the next topic, which I think should be like the ETH Global Hackathon, and like starting to prepare on that. All right, so let's move on to the ETH Global Hackathon. It seems like the next month's topic is essentially open, and I was just thinking of yeah, maybe incentivizing the building of. Sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I think that there's a weird delay. You go ahead, Nana.
Oh, okay. So I was thinking that maybe we can incentivize the building of Swapper, or the building of a Carrot, not Swapper, or something along these lines of incentive aligning mechanisms for DAOs and decentralized organizations in general. And then we can outline what we've been thinking with Carrot and see where it goes.
I think that's a great idea, especially like one nice dApp would be that people can basically create compound fork proposals or compound-like governance systems proposal in combination with like a KPI campaign or whatever, and basically asking the specific compound governance system for approval. Something like that. That would be definitely great.
I mean, I would try to incentivize or to hint at using Omen for that, right? And this could be anything from like a fundraise, right? Like we're a DAO, we want to raise $1 million, but half of that is locked for a year, or we deliver our first product and then we get the other half unlocked. So like use cases like that, where people would have to deliver something in order to unlock the rest of the fund. This also ties into the retroactive funding by Vitalik. I don't know if people have seen the presentation in ETHCC. I'm personally, I don't think like only retroactive funding makes sense, but you should have like maybe half of the funding at the beginning and then half of the funding in the end, to incentivize actually like following through. And this could be, this could be something interesting to do while incorporating with Swapper. And then I don't know, calling it Carrot or something of that sort. So
sounds a little more like Aqua to me, but yeah.
Yeah, and also like, I mean, the interesting thing about Carrot is that you can actually integrate it everywhere, like KPI based on liquidity, on AMMs, based on governance. What else?
I mean, there are lots of stuff you can do. So yeah. Anyone has any other ideas for tools or things that we might need in DXDAO that we could, sort of put as bounties in a hackathon?
I mean, Guild dApp would be awesome. We have like smart contracts ready. Someone needs to create like a front end which interacts with our guilds, guild contracts. That is like an easy low hanging fruit for us. Then treasury management, DApp for our guilds, an analytic page, similar like uniswap.info for our guilds. I mean, the guild stuff's completely like, you can go crazy on it.
Yeah, and the payroll system as well, I guess.
Yeah, so the related to that, like that one way that it was phrased is like DXDAO is about governance, so we have a bounty for like best new like improvements around DXDAO governance tools. Like that's the bounty, and then people come into your Discord like, and they're like bouncing ideas around, and that's where you can suggest like more specific things, like the things you just listed, like, right? So the bounty is general, and then if people have their own ideas or they want ideas, you can like throw around interesting like specific ideas like that. And so that's generally how those hackathons are done, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we should like support like DAO stack type of bounties, because it's basically that, right? Like, I don't think we should put money or like resources on letting people build on like that contracts.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily specifically on DAO stack, but maybe, I don't know, things that could be reused in the next iteration of the governance system.
The topic here is ETH Global Hackathon Bounty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't it make sense to like instead
but these could be like
I think the typical pattern is like, you know, integrate with Swapper or Carrot or Aqua or whatever, right? And then if you can find a way to do that, then you are eligible for this bounty, this prize, right?
I don't think it's like that. It's not like physical hackathons where you would have bounties to integrate your own software. I think it's more open. And then, you know, if you have Chainlink, then obviously you can say, okay, whoever integrates Chainlink in the best way will be able to win. But this could be like any app in the world. So.
Yeah, so
I'm thinking that
John's right that you could have something related to Omen where it's like embed Omen in experience, like another experience in the space, right? Like the way that there was a bounty for a hackathon prize for Omen being embedded into Mask network, right? So any ways that get Omen and Swapper, I mean, it's hard to choose Aqua and Carrot because we don't really have those ready. So people hacking on those things is kind of weird. But Swapper and Omen like could be as open as like find best ways to embed like the Swapper or Omen experience into some other dApp or experience.
Where I think Aqua is definitely in a position where we like do something with Aqua, because there's like shit tons you can actually do, like integrate a LBP type auction, create like this dashboard for auctioneers, like users who are actually creating those auctions, integrated with Uniswap or Swapper preferably. There's like, we actually have a lot of stuff we can like point to, but I think as Sky already said, I think they want like very abstract, like do something with Omen, do something with Aqua, and that's it.
So we have like this, we saw Gelato Network's presentation at ETHBC, and they have, of course, their like automated smart contract technology, but it's not ready for XDAI. That would be cool if someone made things compatible with XDAI for Omen, like that, for example.
Cool idea.
Because there's yeah, that would be great, right?
Yep.
Yeah, totally. And I think like what you can do too is you can make the prize actually very broad, like, you know, integrating with Omen, and then you provide some ideas, like some examples. Like, for example, we would really like, you know, if this thing could work on XDAI, or if we could integrate with Compound or whatever, right?
Yeah, I know. I think like where we should also put like more focus on is like really supporting those people, because they are like the best to absorb, right? Like that's our chance to actually get like people interested in working for the DXDAO.
Yeah, and Nathan, I think what you're mentioning is sort of like just general DXDAO bounties that could happen. Like when you're talking about a hackathon, it's usually people build a product or want to build something, and then, you know, you can incentivize them by integrating some of your products, or, you know, creating something related to one of your products. And I think, like as I said before, I think Omen is great for that, because you can build so many different things around, you know, this prediction market. So yeah. Oh yeah, like a Gelato and Omen integration might be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, did I miss? Are we talking about ETH Global prizes, or are we talking about bounties in general?
So ETH Global, they have like a hackathon every month or every other month, I think. Like it's a virtual hackathon, and then people build sort of like whatever. We're not yet talking about ETH Lisbon, which is kind of like the next physical hackathon. This is still like a virtual hackathon.
But what's the difference in terms of like the prizes?
I guess it's similar, but like ETH Global, they've managed to make the virtual hackathons like pretty good. We have a month to build, and then people usually would actually build apps or dApps, and then, you know, some of these will actually continue to being products of their own, or I don't know. In our case, maybe absorbed by the DXDAO, invested by DX Ventures, and I don't know, incubated
so they could
by
be
DXDAO.
meteor, like they can do more basically because they have more time. This kind of
Yeah, I mean, one's a month,
Yeah.
and one's like a 2-day weekend usually, right?
Yeah, and I mean, in the 2-day weekend, you can also do some pretty sick stuff. It's just, yeah, maybe in the month-long one, like things are a bit more cooked, and in the 2-day ones, it's more kind of like half-baked, like interesting prototypes. Both, I think, are super valuable, by the way. Just as a note, I think that in the like physical hackathon, maybe DXDAO should also participate, and we should hack something, maybe hack Carrot or something.
in Lisbon. Yeah, we'll be hacking.
I actually missed that. If like working with the people physically, I would love to like sit down with Federico and hack stuff, and yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're a bit over time. I think this is something we should continue talking about. Both ETH Lisbon, I guess, that I think there is kind of consensus that we should be participating and sponsoring, and then also ETH Global. So yeah.
Yeah, ETH Lisbon, I think, is going to be quite decentrally organized. I think if there are people that could help actually organize it and like make DXDAO one of the main organizers, like participants in ETH Lisbon, I don't know if there's going to be a hackathon. It seems more of a 3-day period where people are going to come to a city and everyone's going to organize their own events, right? There's no like official sponsors or anything, so it's going to be.
there will probably be a hackathon and like days before and after.
Yeah, Dave and I have already been in contact with some people from ETH Lisbon, and we have the sponsorship deck. We can probably share it with you guys just to kind of figure out next steps. There will be a hackathon.
Sweet.
And we have the opportunity to, sponsor that.
Yeah, so I think that's it. Anyone has any last comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback?
I think at some point we might need to have like a separate conversation, maybe later this week, about the presentations at ETHBC, and because I think we'll post something basically on the forum regarding like what we saw and kind of general takeaways, pros and cons, and next steps on like any partnership. So maybe we need to schedule like a separate time later this week to do that.
All right. So I think that's it. Everybody have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.